Hey you, it's Rachel O'Mara. I'm host of the Pausecast, and I'm so glad that you are here. We are discussing tips and proven strategies in the world of emotional intelligence so that you can rise to your next level of leadership without the overwhelm. I'm also the author of the book Pause, Harnessing the Life-Changing Power of Giving Yourself a Break, based on my burnout of Google and all the things that I've learned since that are really in this realm of neuroscience, psychology, and emotional intelligence. If you're interested to download my free guidebook for how to get out of overwhelm, I invite you to do that at rachelomara.com/guidebook. Just so excited. Let's just start and dive in. Hey everyone, I'm here today with Jennifer Petoff from Google. Hello, Jennifer. Great to see you again.
Great to see you too, Rachel. It's been a hot minute.
We were just talking before we put the live button on where Jennifer and I go way, 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 way back in the world of double clicks. I'm not sure what year it was, but you were a big influencer for me when I was looking for my new role after my burnout. And you sat me down. I remember we were on a couch in one of those little micro kitchens. And you're like, well, I got this really cool fire drill spreadsheet. I've helped people find jobs and I've used it. So I took that. I used it and then I put it in the book and I referenced you in there. And then this morning I asked you, hey, Jennifer, did you know I have you in the book? And what was your response?
I was like, no, I did not. But that's awesome. Like, I'm
Well, what a
so
great
glad
surprise.
that people can benefit from those approaches, those sort of methodical approaches to finding job search strategies. I think I called it like how to manage your career, like or it was either how to manage your career like a well-run project or how to conduct a job search fire drill. And I like your job search commands.
A
Your
job
job
search command
commands.
center, pre-AI name. Yeah. And so it has made the rounds. So I just want you to know you're an influencer, but you're even more of an influencer than you thought because you have things working for you when you sleep here in the US. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Jennifer Petoff. I suppose we can start at the beginning from a career perspective. So I actually started my career with a PhD in chemistry. That's why my nickname is Dr. J, and because I like sports. And after spending 8 years in the chemical industry, I transitioned to Google. My personal guiding star in life is to work to live, not live to work. And my goal in life is to travel as much as possible and live in different places. I've been at Google now for almost 19 years, and I've worked in people operations, the global business organization where we work together, obviously, back when I only worked in IE on a PC. Remember that's got to take you back.
Yeah. Wink, wink. Those DFPers, double click for publishers at the time. Start for
Indeed.
publishers. Yeah. Those were the
Indeed.
days.
Thanks for calling me on my acronyms. And then from the global business organization, I moved into engineering and more specifically site reliability engineering, where I've spent a vast majority of my career at Google. I would say like a major epoch of that time at Google has been my 12-year international assignment in Dublin, Ireland, which has been amazing and life-changing. Spent a decade or so there working on in the SRE space, SRE principles, best practices, sort of the culture. It really has come to permeate a lot of my thinking and approaches on things. Again, joined the SRE education team in 2014. I was team member number 2. And later I was a co-editor of our best-selling site reliability engineering book, which I was super excited about. Coolest project I've worked on at Google. And we're actually working on a second edition of the book right now, which is where I'm spending the bulk of my time. And tying this up with a quick bow, just by saying career has been defined basically by continually seeking new opportunities in line with that guiding star, applying that foundational scientific training and methodical problem solving skills to tech.
That's great. Clearly, that's so. When I think of site reliability engineering, this SRE world, how handy is that? That's so technical and also methodical. And I think you found your sweet spot. Seems like
I,
you clearly have.
I feel like that. I feel like I found my people when I when I joined SRE, and really when I joined the team back in 2014, I really didn't know SR what is this that I'm getting myself into, but it's so rational, so like I said, so technical. It fits. I vibe with it a lot better and a lot more than I did with some of the previous things that I had done at
Yeah.
Google in my career. Love it. I drink the SRE Kool-Aid.
Well, thanks for helping us all learn more about it today. Clearly, you've had an incredible career trajectory. That's probably nothing you would have ever imagined, being a chemical engineer PhD. So, for you, what would a win be in your career that you're really proud of? And maybe you've already even mentioned it.
Over 18 years at Google, like there are many wins that stand out. Like it's really hard to just pick one thing. I think the things that they have in common are just, building something meaningful from scratch, achieving impact, perhaps when it seemed difficult to measure. So those are sort of the things that I care a lot about. But of course, the thing I'm most proud of and like the coolest project that I worked on at Google has been the site reliability engineering book that we published back in 2016. And like I said, I knew nothing about SRE when I joined the team, but this project basically catapulted me forward as an industry advocate, a public speaker. Not to mention those things are also great for helping me follow my guiding star in life to travel and live different places. But just to set the scene a little bit more, so I was one of the 4 co-editors of the book, and the project itself was the brainchild of Niall Murphy, one of my colleagues and former manager in Dublin. And I was basically brought into the program because I was a program manager and I really had the skill set needed to herd all the cats, like make this whole thing happen. We're talking large scale collaboration here. So the book represents contributions from over 70 Googlers with over 500 years of Google production experience. Definitely a lot of cats to herd. And we had no way of anticipating this at the time, but the book has become one of O'Reilly's bestsellers of all time. Again, was really excited about taking it forward, keeping the momentum going through advocacy, public speaking, and I love how the book has basically helped accelerate adoption of SRE across the industry. Like many organizations are now embracing some or all of the practices that we've talked about, and also building on it, making their own. If anyone is interested in learning more, the full text of the SRE book is on sre.google/books, available for free if people want to check it out.
sre.google.books or slash books.
Slash books. Yeah. So
Yeah, Google.
sre.google/books.
It's for anyone who really needs this.
Yes, I think the main thing is Google. The SRE was founded by Ben Traynor Sloss at Google. It's basically what happens when you ask an engineer to design an operations function. So it's applying engineering principles to running software in production. And it started at Google. We've done it for many years. I think since 2003. And now we've talked about some of the things that we've learned, and again, I think the principles and the best practices, people very broadly can take advantage of those. We talk a lot about how Google does things and hope other people can learn from it, build upon it, etc.
You literally are the industry standard. I love it.
I love it. It's been so much fun, and so many cool people to work with, and like that gives me a lot of energy.
So clearly, there's a lot of wins, like you said, wrapped up in that. Along with the wins, though, sometimes we get challenges or even mistakes. Is there anything that you've learned from that you would like to share today?
Yeah, happy to talk about it. I am a perfectionist by nature, so failure is hard for me. But I think it's one of the most important things that you need to experience in life, because of course, like the biggest lessons, they don't come from things that are like wildly successful, but they often come from navigating unexpected challenges. A couple of things I've learned from it. I'm going to talk about this like instead of like a specific point in time, kind of more of a pattern focused situation. But I have found that actually invoking SRE principles can help address some of these challenges and anti-patterns that I've seen recurring in my own experiences. And I think that's actually a principle of SRE in and of itself. Like you basically want to fix classes of mistakes, classes of issues, rather than being satisfied with point fixes. So set the stage there. In terms of challenges that I've learned from, I think balancing commitments and avoiding burnout by like setting boundaries is something that I've found challenging. Learning to say no, basically. And I struggle a bit as a people pleaser. I recognize that I fall into this trap. Like I don't like conflict. Learning to say no is important, and finding a way to be okay with the discomfort of saying no and the discomfort that comes with, kind of putting yourself in a potentially conflict ridden situation. And also when kind of thinking about that, so capacity planning and load shedding, which are two very technical principles from an SRE point of view, I think they're also great life hacks. So for me, like one way I get around some of this struggling with saying no. I have my own personal capacity plan. And I have a plan to
I
load
love it.
shed if things kind of blow up in a certain area. So I set a quota for certain activities. For example, things that I really enjoy but are not necessarily rewarded: mentoring, public speaking, all
You have
kind.
your own dashboard. You have like your own high-end dashboard for Jennifer Petoff.
Essentially. And of course, so it's, and yeah, when I see that capacity being reached, I start saying no. And I've actually told people, like, people reach out to me on LinkedIn, like, hey, could you take a meeting? Hey, are you willing to be on this podcast? And I'll often say, like, I'm over capacity at the moment. Like, I'm in sort of a load shedding situation at the moment. Like, either, let's reconnect in some number of months, or like, it's a good technique for saying no, basically. Yeah. And I think also that capacity planning and load shedding also gives you a mechanism to communicate when things need to be dropped, like when unexpected demands arise. So I always say, like when my mom got sick in 2020, like, I started load shedding a bunch of things that are work related, because I needed to focus on that most important task, like, looking after my mom. And then it's flipped the other way as well. Like, I like, there have been times when, like, things are super busy at work, and I'll tell my husband, don't overprogram us. Like, I'm so busy right now. I need to focus on work stuff. I can't focus on this other stuff right now. He's our chief travel officer, chief fun officer. So he likes to plan a lot of things for us.
That's exciting. I love that you took what you practice professionally to your personal life, and there's a lot of crossover there that I think that we can glean and learn from. What if everyone had that for ourselves? If we created some kind of a understanding of when we hit near the breaking point and what we can do to pull back. I mean, that's very, very like motivationally great and inspiring for me. So thank you for sharing that and being vulnerable. I agree. Failure is hard and no one really wants to go there, but at the same time there's no better way to learn, and failing fast is, I remember, one of the big ways we think about things in the tech world, right? So yeah.
Exactly. Fail fast, fail forward, and keep on going. The only other thing I would add, like, I remember early in my career, like, I was a chemist, and chemistry is very single-minded. Like, it doesn't really tax any sort of organizational system at all. Like, you do your experiments in the lab, like, your head's down, very focused. And then I remember I moved into HR at one point and managing programs from a people perspective. And all of a sudden, I had all these stakeholders coming at me. I had like a million different things I needed to keep track of. This was very, very stressful. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night and thinking, like, oh my God, I forgot to do X, Y, or Z. And that was very challenging. And what I ended up doing was I adopted the getting things done methodology. Like, I'm actually fairly well known within Google as like the GTD guru. So
Yes.
taking David Allen's system and applying it in Google tools like Gmail and Google Docs and everything. And that really was a game changer in terms of managing my workload and being able to consistently deliver and build credibility by basically consistently delivering on my, the things I committed to rather than
Yeah.
forgetting and they fall through the cracks.
Very, very good methodology. That I also highlighted that in Pause because I used it myself for a lot of the objectives to do, but getting things done. David Allen, shout out. Woo woo.
Yeah.
Like,
Big
you're
shout out.
incredible.
Life changing for real.
Yeah. Well, knowing all of this, Jennifer, what's one piece of advice that you would give to other high achieving leaders in tech at this point?
Sure. So also an excellent question. Yeah, because I think as high achieving leaders, we want to sustain our impact. We want to grow. And yeah, we work in in a demanding industry, basically. So let's see. So drawing on my own experience, like, I've done a bunch of career pivots. I have immersed myself in SRE, but like the most essential piece of advice that I think I would give is intentionally manage your career and your well-being like a critical production system. So again, I'm nerding out on the SRE
Love it.
stuff.
I love it. Keep nerding out. This is great.
Gonna keep nerding out, but like, you need to leverage both, programmatic and cultural principles to ensure, you're working sustainably, you're learning, you're delivering long-term impact rather than relying on unsustainable efforts or heroics. Heroism is bad from an SRE perspective. It leads to burnout. It leads to single points of failure. It's like not a great situation. Can be a lot of adrenaline associated with that and like sort of endorphin rush. Long term, it's just not great. I wanted to give maybe a couple of ideas of practices that underpin this advice. Again, intentionality is paramount. And I personally filter every major career decision that I make through a personal framework. So I've defined my guiding star, which, as I said earlier, was to travel as much as possible and live in different
I
places and
love that.
also work to live rather than live to work. And then I use this as a litmus test. So if I get an opportunity, it presents itself, I can evaluate, like, does this thing bring me closer or further away from my guiding star? And, while this opportunity may be non-traditional, like from a strictly linear career progression perspective, if you consider, your guiding star as what you want most in life, if it takes you closer, like, who cares if it's like considered a weird
Yeah,
move.
doesn't matter anymore.
Exactly. And finally, I think, like, be willing to walk through the unexpected door that presents itself, even if they seem counterintuitive, even if it might involve a temporary downshift. Like, I always say, like, don't let your ego dictate the path. If that opportunity aligns with that larger intention and you think there's long-term growth there, then it's a good opportunity. And I do know from personal experience, like, taking one step back can lead to three steps forward. In terms of just a couple of other quick things to say on this, we've already touched on ruthless prioritization and load shedding to avoid overloads. I think that also comes into play here. And is a hallmark of being intentional. That it's important to foster a culture of blameless learning, or a mindset of blameless learning. If we're looking at this from our personal perspective and personal advice, I think successful leaders, they really build both technical and organizational systems that learn from failure rather than, like, dwelling on mistakes. And I do think the SRE tool of a blameless retrospective is super useful. Failure is an opportunity to improve. It's not the place to assign blame. You don't want to brandish pitchforks, so to speak. And really, focus on the systems rather than on the people. Like, human error, or like the mistakes that we make, it's systems problems. Like, we all make our choices. We all make decisions based on the information that we have at the time and what we think is the best course of action. So everybody's acting in good faith. So, like, leave the blame behind, all that kind of stuff. And then apply SRE principles to leadership, like, to maximize your system, both your career, your team, the reliability, resilience, and scale that you can achieve while continuing to iterate and improve.
Some things that really stood out to me, and you basically said so much that was so helpful. And I love your overall vision that it's really like managing your career as an intentional, mission critical endeavor. So we can't even say it better than that, because that speaks so true to me. And then, what is your guiding North Star? What is each of our North Stars? And do you even know it? I feel like some of us know it, some of us it changes, and then we don't know anymore, or we know it, but we just forgot about it, or we don't think of it as like it's possible anymore. And I think as we go in our career and advance in different ways, it's tough to remember that. And so thank you for bringing that in. And yours is, it's not specific to your career. It's like you want to work to live, or live to work, or yeah, work to live, and also travel the world. And it's just, beautiful. So love that you go out and say that. Blameless learning. Can you just say what that means exactly?
So I think basically, like, when like in SRE, like, if there is an outage, like, even if a person caused the
Oh,
outage, like, you don't point your finger at them. Like, what was it about the system that basically allowed that
okay.
thing to happen?
Yeah.
And then, okay, what can we learn from that? What can we do to improve the system? Like, our system, our processes, our mindset,
Oh,
whatever it
that's such
is.
a great way to say it. Yeah, blameless learning, because I think it's so easy to point the finger and you can't. Like, if you're learning as a whole, like a whole organism and a system, it's not about that at all. And it just takes you off course and it's draining energy. So I'm going to adopt that in my language and start being throwing in blameless learning for
Yeah,
myself.
blameless postmortem, blameless, like, retrospective postmortem, like, learning, like, they all kind of roll in the same.
Yeah, yeah. I thank you for that language. I really like it. What are some of the best professional investments, Jennifer, that you've made in the past year or two?
Like, 'cause I think this is particularly interesting because oftentimes, like, we are the last people to get the love, so to speak. Like, we're here for everyone else, but, like, look in for everyone else's career,
Yeah.
we're mentoring, we're coaching, we're helping, but apply oxygen mask to self before helping others, I think is key. I have a few investments that I've made. And so I would say, like, they fall into three categories. So you've got career pivots, skill development, and then I'll call it deliberate work-life design. One investment that I made was basically taking a risk and taking on a bigger role at Google. So in 2022, I became director of Google Cloud Platform and Technical Infrastructure Education. So it involved expanding my responsibilities beyond solely reliability focused. education for Google SRE to training all of Google Cloud on a variety of different technical subject matter. And it was really a good idea to get out of my comfort zone. Again, it was a massive increase in scope of both the subject matter and the stakeholders that I was dealing with. And actually, my first instinct was to say no because I was like, "Whoa, like this is a lot. Like this is kind of scary." But I realized like maybe I was getting a little bit too comfortable in SRE after the amount of time I had spent there, and maybe I needed to take a plunge into something new. So I think this transition was like a pivotal point of growth. It like really got me out of that comfort zone, but at the same time, like I got the best of both worlds because I was actually able to take my SRE programs with me while expanding into an entirely new space. So again, I continue to apply those SRE principles to running the training programs at scale and scaling audience that we serve super linearly to the size of the team. So that's kind of a professional like career pivot investment there. And then from a personal perspective, I've been living in Europe since 2010. I spent 12 years in Dublin, Ireland. So moving to Lisbon, Portugal was another investment. And again, it's very much aligned with my guiding star of traveling as much as possible, living in different places. After that 12 years of living in Ireland, and I love Ireland, like it will always be home. But after a long time and 2 years of pandemic lockdown, it was time for a change, like to mix things up and also was able to utilize the dual American Irish citizenship that I have now that I earned during my time in Dublin. So that unlocked the ability to like live and work in different places in Europe. And it really helped to invigorate my life, my career, and open myself up to some new experiences, like attempting to learn a new language, like eu tenho aulas de português. So I'm taking
Nice.
Portuguese lessons now, although it's a challenge. One thing I've learned is that I am not super good at languages, but got to keep trying.
I think it's so important because we underestimate the value we put on ourselves when we do invest, because I find it comes back tenfold.
100%. And so I think also like another investment that I've made, and this is kind of at the intersection of career and personal, it's investing in thought leadership and an external presence. Like, so I continue to invest time in publishing, public speaking, and really trying to solidify my position as an expert at that intersection between SRE, education, program management. So, we talked about the SRE book. Like, I do a lot of follow up public speaking to kind of keep the momentum going on that, conferences, etc. Do some customer engagement, which is fun. I've also started building a brand around this niche expertise. It's called the Reliable PGM, which you can find at reliablepgm.com. And the goal here is to really share the expertise that I've developed in my almost 2 decade long career at Google, again, at that intersection of program management and SRE. And I try to share practical insights on topics like personal productivity, career management as a project. There's some AI and experimentation that I do as well. And then how to SRE anything, you may not be surprised to learn, is my jam, given how much I've talked about it here. But applying SRE principles and best practices to diverse situations like travel, life,
Are we going to
and
see a Portuguese cookbook in SRE talk? Is that coming?
I need to do that. I'm like, I cooked a lot when I was a chemist. And so like, cause doing experiments in the lab is kind of like cooking. So I never like to cook when I'm at home. And there's
Or
so much,
maybe not right away.
maybe not. My husband does all the cooking, which is amazing. So I do all the eating.
Okay, okay. Well, we'll let you off the hook on that one because clearly you have a lot of resources that you've invested your time and energy into, but also yourself. So kudos are all around for that, I would say. And for you now that you're in Portugal and you're kind of establishing yourself in this external world and the internal expertise of the reliability engineering, what do you think would be something that's going really well for you and one thing that's a little more challenging in all of that?
Yeah, and I would say like what I'm going to tell you is basically two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
So the first thing that I'd say has been going really well is starting in April 2025, I decided to take a step back, and now I'm working 60% part time, which is very cool.
Woo!
So that gives me more time to focus on personal projects while still keeping some sort of skin in the game. From
Yeah.
a tech executive perspective, life is short.
Hang on, hang on. Can I jump in here because
Of
this
course.
is news to me. I didn't really know this was going to be something you were going to share, and I'm so stoked for you because what does that mean? You're working 3 days a week and then the other two are not.
Yep. So it's basically a 4-day weekend every week, which is kind of cool.
Wow. So kudos. Like, I think a lot of women who are moms, a lot of parents, and people are just later stage in their career are ready to do something like that. So hats off to you, Jennifer, for leading the charge. Well done.
Thank you, thank you. So it was a big step. And I've purposely pulled onto the side road and off the highway. You might be able to say, but I'm still like Google. I'm still working on the things that I really, really enjoy while making time for the travel that I love to do, investing in my exercise and my health, investing in language, trying to learn Portuguese. In addition to the reliable PGM website, I have a travel blog called Sidewalk Safari that I've been writing for well over a decade. I started a door photography blog. So door photography
I've
is
seen that. I've seen the door photography. Yeah, it's cool. I like it.
it's very cool. And for those who are watching the video
Oh,
version of this
there's the
podcast,
doors behind you.
yeah, I have 21 doors from 21 countries on the wall behind me. So, it's fun to exercise that sort of creative part of my brain, as opposed to the sciencey or tech part. So that's been really great. But you asked like what's been going well. That's definitely going well. I think one thing that's a little bit more challenging is basically holding the line. So when you're working part time, like you're getting paid for part time work, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think none of us want to work for free. This means like I need to be even more brave than usual about saying no to things. Exactly. And I've always been pretty good about like compartmentalizing and holding a line. I will log off at the end of the day today, and I won't check in again until Tuesday morning. I'll try not to even take a peek.
I would call that a digital device pause. That is huge because we all know how tempting it can be, and we're all tethered to our devices. So that's a really big thing to be proud of, actually, even though it's hard.
Well, just to clarify, like I'm logging off of my work devices. Will probably be sitting at
But you
my
might be on
personal.
Instagram a little bit. Okay. We forgive
Yeah,
you.
I don't. I feel like we are all addicted to technology. It is hard, and especially like most of my hobbies are computer based hobbies, which
Yeah.
makes it harder to do that like proper detox. But
Yeah.
hey, like getting away from the hustle and bustle of the day job
Yeah.
is a nice
Or you're
thing.
a great example, though. I just want to highlight that because I think a lot of people just don't even attempt to do anything outside the box because they just don't think it's going to happen, right? We just shoot ourselves down. We cut ourselves off at the knees because it's out of conformity, or we're trying to do something and we just don't think it's possible, but yet it really is if we really are intentional and we put our mind to it. Maybe we have a plan and a strategy, as you have. What a powerful reminder that you can design your work life to be what matters for you. And I love that you did that intentionally, Jennifer. Way to go. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let's wrap up here. And I've just had so much thanks for all of these great nuggets and given me something to think about in perspective about how to look at things in this engineering way, which is really neat. For you, this might not have always been the case for you, but a lot of leaders are juggling many, many things. It's really hard to do a pause or just catch their breath or feel like they're keeping their head above the surface, let alone being entirely riding the wave, right? There's just a lot on our plates and high demand. So does that resonate with you at all? And is there any other advice you would share if people are feeling that way?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely resonates. Some of the actions that I've taken to go part time, et cetera, like have helped to address that. But yeah, there's always stuff going on. This resonates deeply. I feel like working in tech, like if you're a tech executive and just basically everyone working in tech and everyone. Probably you're being sprayed with this fire hose of information. There's urgent demands. You got to react. And it's just like there's a lot going on. You're being pulled in many different directions. I know when I joined Google, I felt like I was taken off on a rocket ship because everything was moving so fast relative to the chemical industry where I came from. As leaders, we face the challenge of an overwhelming number of requests. There's competing demands. It can make it hard to focus or just get a critical block of time to get a thing done or to take some time for yourself. It is literally drinking from the fire hose. A lot of what I talked about in the podcast so far around using some of those systematic strategies, sort of modeled after site reliability engineering principles, can be really helpful. We talked about, capacity planning. We talked about load shedding. We talked about doing retrospectives. So if you find yourself in a situation where like, hey, that didn't go as well as like it could have, felt really overwhelmed, doing some analysis and reflection, I think is super helpful. Finding those strategies for saying no, trying to think of what else, setting boundaries, ruthless prioritization. And of course, another shout out to David Allen and getting things done, because that's all about like tracking things in a trusted system. Like, I think that for me, that really helps minimize stress, like knowing that nothing's going to fall through the cracks. Like I have a full triaged list of everything that I could be doing. And then, I am empowered to decide what's important to work on at that moment in time.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that's been great. The one other thing I will mention is coming to terms with the fact that it's not possible to get everything done. Like you're never going to have a zero inbox. You're never going to have a zero to-do list. Like you need, and that some things are going to be left undone. That's a key skill as well. One I've struggled with because I'm like, I can do it all, but you can't.
That's spot on. So great words of wisdom. We've all been there. And if we're not there, we know someone who's been there. Thank you for sharing you today. I learned so much. I'm so grateful for you to be here, Jennifer. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And where can we find you? If there's one place, you listed a lot of links, but where can we start?
Yeah, I think starting with the reliablepgm.com. And I'm also very active on LinkedIn. My last name is very common, so I'm pretty easy to find if you are motivated to do so.
We'll put that in the show notes for sure. It was really, really fun and an honor to be with you today.
Great. So exciting to do this. Thanks very much.
Thanks for listening today to the Pausecast. You rock. If you haven't already, please subscribe, rate us, leave your review. I'd love to hear from you and help us get the word out to all of those who are in search of wanting to get out of overwhelm and rise to their next level of leadership. If you think that you might benefit from these tools or know anyone else who would, just invite them to join us. Pausecast.